and what parameters I am interested in. Okay. So for a closed system, for example, let us say sometimes you want to know what is the heat exchange, or you want to know how much the volume has changed or temperature has increased. So basically, the application or what you are looking for will determine what plot we will use. And we'll also look at the PVT surface. So if we combine two plots, we can form a surface that we'll see how it is done. And we'll talk about triple point and critical point, which is defined for a pure substance. We also look at equations of state and compressibility factors. Okay, so first of all, let us see how a matter is divided. Okay, so don't worry for so many charts. So basically, you are concerned with pure substance. Okay, pure substance is either you will talk about elements, pure elements like hydrogen, iron, or carbon, or we will talk about compounds. So water is a very common example that we'll go through. So these are all pure substance. It means that their chemical composition and phase, everything is chemical composition is homogeneous, or they are different from mixtures. Okay. Now in mixtures also we'll consider homogeneous mixtures. Okay. So where basically no phase change is involved, we'll talk about homogeneous mixtures. For example, air. So air will take as a approximately a pure substance, or we can use the same equations which we use for pure substance without any major modification. Okay, we can also talk about sugar solution, sugar, or let us say salt in water. And alloys are also example of homogeneous, but we'll not deal with alloys. We'll limit ourselves to let us say superheated steam, air, and water solutions. Okay, we'll also talk about refrigerants, which are basically pure substance only. Okay, so is this clear to everyone? What is we are going to talk about in this subject, in this chapter, basically?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyway, when we go through the examples, it will be hopefully more clear. So let us get some definition. So substance which has fixed chemical composition. So this is very important throughout its mass. Let us say we were talking about water. So for any part of that mixture, any part of that for any portion you take. So for example, we have water in a beaker. So from any location you take a sample, it will be H2O. Anywhere you pick up a sample, it will be H2O. That will not true if it is a heterogeneous mixture. Okay, and it may exist in more than one phase. So water could be, let us say, solid, liquid, or gas, vapor, but it will always be H2O. Chemical composition remains to be the same. You cannot say that when you boil water it becomes H. It is always H2O, right? So that is the basic definition of a pure substance. Okay. Now we'll talk about phase. So phase is identified as having a distinct molecular arrangement and which is homogeneous. Okay. So it can be separated through different phases and which can be identified by boundary surface. Okay. So for example, let's see. So we can say for water, we have three phases: vapor, solid, and liquid. But in liquid also we can have two phases. Let's see one example. So we have water plus oil. So how many phases are here? Anyone?
Two.
Two. Because there are two different substances and they are separated by a boundary. Okay, if suppose instead of oil I have any liquid which dissolves in water, which is miscible. If it is homogeneously mixed, then we'll have one phase. But for example, if I mix sugar instead of oil, so it will be one phase. But since we have two different phases, although both are in liquid, but they are having a boundary layer, boundary separation. So this is called two phases. Now what about this? How many phases? Water plus ice cube, liquid water plus ice cube.
Two
One,
phases.
sir.
Two.
One.
Two.
Two.
One substance. What is the substance? Is water. But we have two phases, solid and liquid. Similarly, if we talk about water vapor, boiling water. So again, we have two phases. One substance plus two phases. One is vapor, one is liquid. Okay, so this is like one of the most basic slides of this chapter. If you are clear with this, then you will be having an easy time. Otherwise, there's a lot of confusion in this chapter.
Can you show the definition of phase again, sir, please?
Okay, sure. So this is the definition. So phase is identified as having a distinct molecular arrangement, okay, which is homogeneous, and two phases are separated by a boundary surface. So that is what we see for oil and water. And pure substance, I hope you are clear with. Right? Moving on.
Okay.
So this we have seen. Now let us talk about phase change. So as I said, water is the simplest example that we'll use for many of our slides and numericals. So water exists in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas or vapor. So these are the different processes. So when you boil water, it could be boiling or evaporation, and when you condense, it is called condensation. So what do we need? For example, we start with solid water, then we need to add latent heat of fusion. So when you add latent heat of fusion, it could become liquid. Or from a liquid, if you remove that heat, it becomes solid again. Okay, so this is the difference, or this is the barrier between liquid and solid phases, that you need either need to add or remove latent heat of fusion. Okay, or whatever melting you want to do. Secondly, if you want to evaporate, you have to add latent heat of vaporization, right? Similarly, we have latent heat of sublimation. So if you remove that heat, the solid will directly transfer to become gas or vapor. Okay. So basically, whenever you want to change a phase, you have to either add or remove latent heat. That is the basic idea. Okay. Now, I want to fix the state. Okay, earlier, if you remember, we talked about Gibbs phase rule. So that we are going to discuss in a little bit more detail now. So let us say I have water in a container. So how many properties do I need to fix the state of water? Anyone wants to tell or guess?
Sir, two.
Two intensive properties.
Okay, correct. So this is the question. So let us say two. Now instead of so basically I need to know, let us say, what is the temperature and what is the pressure. So I can say that water is at room temperature and atmospheric pressure. It means that I have fixed the state. If I don't give either temperature or pressure, then the state is not fixed. For example, water could be at atmospheric pressure, but it could be at 20 degree or 40 degree. So there are two different states, right? Now let us say, instead of normal water, I have boiling water. Now how many properties do I need? How many properties to fix the state of this boiling water? Or
Pressure only.
Pressure only.
only
one
one.
property. Okay.
Pressure.
So when I say, or I can have temperature also. So when I say water is boiling at 100 degrees Celsius, it has to be at 101 kilopascal. This is basically your atmospheric pressure. Or if I say water is boiling at atmospheric pressure, then it has to be 100 degrees Celsius. So these two are related. Now I can also
Sir?
have, yes.
Sir, in the boiling water, it could also be happen that the pressure is less than 1 atmosphere, then TB
Yes,
will
yes, I'm coming to that. So just let me finish this slide. You'll get your answer in this slide only. So we could have TB which is more than 100 degrees Celsius in a pressure cooker. So pressure cooker typically operate at, let us say, around 200 kilopascal, which is almost 2 atmosphere. Now at that high pressure, your boiling point changes to 120 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now, similarly, if you go to Mount Everest, so Mount Everest is a height of 8,000 meter, and the pressure, atmospheric pressure there is roughly around 33 kilopascal. So for that pressure, your boiling point is 70 degrees Celsius. So if you say that we have boiling water, that is not a sufficient condition. We need at least one more variable. Either you know that water is boiling at 100 degrees Celsius or 120 degrees Celsius, or you should know that water is having a pressure of either atmospheric pressure or higher pressure. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Give me a second. Yeah. So, as we discussed, we need to have either. So it is not necessary that you have either temperature or pressure. You could also have, let us say, specific volume, or let us say enthalpy per unit mass, enthalpy, entropy. Any one property is required. Okay, that will fix your state of the system. Okay. So let us see what we have done. So we
Sir,
have
Sir, when water is boiling, then its volume is also constantly changing. So don't we need to state that?
volume is changing, but specific volume will not change
Okay.
because the temperature remains fixed. You will see. Let us let us cover some more slides. Then you will be clear. Volume. See the total. Okay. Let me draw it here. See, if you have water in a beaker, okay, so you say that's true that your volume of the liquid will be changing, but the specific volume of this liquid, which is basically inverse of density, that will not change. And we also talk about generally when we talk about phase change, we also, the general way to talk about is when we have a closed system. Okay, so here we have a mixture of vapor plus liquid. So then we can define some average volume of, see, volume is fixed, mass is fixed, right? So, okay, let us not jump into that. Let us go step by step. So you'll see how we define volume and how do we calculate an average for these two. That we'll see. Okay, so let us start with boiling water. So we have boiling water, which is one component, that is water, and two phases, which are liquid and vapor. So how many properties required? Only one, right? We need to know either temperature or pressure or any one property we need. That is what we saw in the last slide. Now, let us say we are talking about water vapor. Okay, water vapor or normal liquid water also. So how many components are there in a water vapor?
Only one, sir.
Only one, and only one phase is there. I'm just talking about water vapor. So how many properties are required? Two properties are required actually. So let us say water vapor or water at atmospheric conditions. So you need two properties for completely defining or fixing the state of that water. Okay. Now let us come to Gibbs phase rule. So Gibbs phase rule says F is equal to C minus P plus 2. Now what are these F, C and P? So F is your degree of freedom, okay, or basically number of properties which are required to fix the state of system. This is the minimum number of properties required. C is the number of components. So for water, we are having one component. If we have water plus any other liquid, then we'll have two components. P is the number of phase. Okay, so if you have CP, you can find how many number of properties are required, basically your degree of freedom. Okay, now let us see how this equation can be applied to these examples. So this is your C is 1 for both of them, and P is 2 for two phases, 1 for one phase. Okay. How many properties are required? 1 and 2. So here you can see C minus P plus 2 is equal to F. Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
So this is, yes.
सर कैन यू प्लीज मतलब ये जो वन प्रॉपर्टी कैसे आई बॉइलिंग वाटर की? सर अभी तो आप बता रहे थे कि दो होंगी, कि मतलब टेम्परेचर और प्रेशर दोनों.
Okay. Let me. I said there are many properties, but if I fix one, if I say temperature is this, then this is also fixed. I don't need to know the pressure. Or if I fix the pressure, let us say I fix that it is at 200 kilopascal, then temperature gets fixed. These two properties are interlinked. I cannot have 200 kilopascal and temperature at 100 Celsius.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
So
you.
for this boiling water, I need only one property to fix the state. Fine. That is what we are seeing here. Okay. Now let us define some properties. So let's say that we have a piston cylinder arrangement and we are boiling water. Okay, so the bottom will be liquid and then we'll have some vapor. So let us define what are the terms involved. So we will talk about saturated liquid, saturated vapor, subcooled liquid or compressed liquid, and superheated vapor. So what are these? So a liquid that is about to vaporize. Okay, so basically, okay, this is a little bit wrong. Let me just correct it. This is 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, don't think it is 1000 degree. Okay, so liquid which is about to vaporize. So water at liquid water at 100 degrees Celsius. See, I am writing to 100 degrees Celsius and 1 atmosphere, which is about to boil. Okay, so when I am saying liquid water at 100 degrees Celsius, this is not fixed. If I say liquid water at 100 degrees Celsius 1 atmosphere, then the state is fixed. Or I can write boiling water at 100 degrees Celsius. Then I don't need the temperature. Okay, or I can say boiling water at 1 atmosphere. Then it is understood it is 100 degrees Celsius. Is it fine? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, similarly, I can define saturated vapor. So vapor which is about to condense, it is just evaporated. Or again, same mistake I've done here. So let me correct it. Yeah. So this is because of font. So water vapor at 100 degrees Celsius 1 atmosphere. Okay, this is which is just evaporated. It has no additional amount of heat. Liquid water at 100 degrees Celsius. If you give a latent heat to it, if I give only latent heat, no other extra heat, so it becomes saturated vapor, water vapor at 100 degrees Celsius. That's it. Now you can easily guess what is subcooled liquid, or liquid which is not about to vaporize. It is far from the boiling point. Okay, or any liquid. Let us say water. Water is, I am using water because this is the simplest example which is easy to understand, but the same definition and same processes are observed for other materials also, right? So liquid water at, let us say, room temperature, that is what is known as subcooled liquid, because you need to add some latent some heat to heat it to reach to the boiling point. Okay, so that is what is subcooled liquid or compressed liquid, which is having a lower heat content than this. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, once you heat, okay, you start heating, you just got to saturated vapor at 100 degrees Celsius 1 atmosphere. Now, I will keep on heating it. Let us say everything has become vapor here, and I kept on heating it. I did not stop heating, so it will get higher than 100 degrees Celsius. Let us say all the water here is evaporated and it is at 150 degrees Celsius. So that vapor I will call superheated vapor, because it has been heated far beyond the boiling point. So this vapor is not about to condense. Okay, vapor at a higher heat content than saturated vapor. So if you want to condense this vapor, first you have to bring it back to 100 degrees Celsius and then it will condense. Okay, so I hope these definitions are clear to everyone. If any doubt, please ask me again. These are very important for your this chapter and next chapter. Any doubt in this definitions? No doubt? Okay, moving on. So let us talk about saturation temperature and pressure. So a temperature at which a pure substance changes its phase at a given pressure. Okay, this is called saturation temperature. For example, water has Tsat at 100 degrees Celsius at atmospheric pressure. Okay, this is called saturation temperature where it will start boiling. Now what about pressure? So similarly, corresponding definition will be there for pressure. So pressure at which pure substance changes phase at a given temperature is called saturation pressure. So for example, if I know water is at 100 degrees Celsius, then my saturation pressure will be 1 atmosphere. Right? Is this clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, any question? No one is speaking here.
And let us suppose that this LED circuit is actually this type of device actually.
Please mute someone. Noise is coming. Okay, let us talk about boiling point. So boiling point is defined as a temperature at which vapor pressure of a liquid equals its ambient pressure. Okay. Normal boiling point is called, which is also called atmospheric boiling point. Okay, is a special case where the vapor pressure of the liquid equals the defined atmospheric pressure at sea level. Okay, so let me go back to this slide. So basically, when we boil water, we say that this, okay, if you remove this, if let us say this is open system, so let me draw it here. So let us say I have water in a beaker and I am trying to boil it. They are providing heat, right? So at 100 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressure, the pressure exerted by the water vapor will be equal to atmospheric pressure. Okay, then only it will boil. So then only we say that it is boiling. So that this is how you define your boiling point. Boiling point is the temperature where your vapor pressure of this liquid equals the ambient pressure, which is basically atmospheric pressure for normal boiling point. Okay. Now the question is, what is vapor pressure? So vapor pressure is pressure exerted by vapor in equilibrium with condensed phase liquid, or let us keep a simple example. We'll talk about boiling water, but the same definition or same logic will be applicable to other substances and other phases also. Okay. So water is vapor is in thermodynamic equilibrium with condensed phase, which is liquid here, at a given temperature in a closed system. Okay, sorry, this was anyway for open also this will be equal to atmospheric, but let us keep it closed. So if you have a closed system, if you start boiling, it means that this has reached to atmospheric pressure or whatever the ambient pressure is there. Okay, now basically this vapor pressure is an indication of how quickly the liquid wants to evaporate. Okay, it is the tendency of basically liquid to go to vapor phase, escape from that liquid or solid phase and go to vapor phase. So higher vapor pressure means that you have a higher tendency to boil. So for example, if you compare vapor pressure of water and let's say ethanol, ethanol will have higher vapor pressure because it has lower boiling point. Ethanol boils faster than water or at a lower temperature than water. So that's what I just mentioned, that higher the vapor pressure, lower will be the boiling point. Is this clear? I suggest you can read it again and if any doubt, we can discuss again. These are basically the basic or defining statements for this particular topic. Okay. So let us look at the whole process again. So let us say I have a closed system. You people are connected?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us look at the whole process again. So I hope you are clear with the definitions. Now we'll see that definition in applied to again boiling water system. Okay. So I hope by this example you will also have some more clarity about what are the definitions that we went through just now. So let us talk about piston cylinder arrangement, and this is a closed system, right? The mass is fixed. Water cannot leave or I cannot add any mass to it. So in a closed system, I start supplying heat. So when initially I have at 1 atmosphere and 20 degrees Celsius. So this is your subcooled liquid because it is far away from boiling point. This is much more cooler than what is required to be boiled. So this is called subcooled liquid. Now I keep on adding heat. So this is state 1. Let us say I keep on adding heat and reach to state 2. So here I have saturated liquid. Okay, liquid which is just at the boiling point. 1 atmosphere, 100 degrees Celsius. Right? If I keep on adding heat, what will happen? I will have a mixture of vapor and liquid. And this, if the temperature is fixed at 100 degrees Celsius, it will be a saturated vapor, mixture of saturated vapor and saturated liquid. Is this fine to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now,
Sir, please explain the definition of subcooled liquid once, sir.
subcooled is liquid which is having a, okay, simple terms, liquid which is having a temperature lower than the boiling point. Boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius, right? 20 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Celsius, everywhere it is subcooled liquid. It is far away from the boiling point, that's it. Simplest definition is any liquid water you have at atmospheric pressure, most temperature is not 100 degrees Celsius, it is subcooled.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, if it's less than 100, it is called subcooled, right?
Yes, even if it is at 99 degrees Celsius, it is subcooled.
Okay.
Okay, at 100 it is saturated, below that it is subcooled.
Okay.
Similarly for vapor. So vapor at 100 degrees Celsius, this is called saturated vapor. This is just has become vapor. That's it. Temperature is not increased. Now if you add more heat, it will become superheated vapor. So let us say at 1 atmosphere I have 300 degrees Celsius. Now the normal boiling point is 100 degrees. Once it comes to 100 degrees, it becomes vapor, right? Now if you have vapor and if still heat it to, let us say 200 or 300 or even 101 degrees Celsius, this will be superheated vapor. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Yes, sir.
these are the 5 states that we have defined, starting from subcooled liquid to superheated vapor. Now let me plot it. So if I plot this in TV plot, you see this is the difference. This is not PV, this is TV plot, because we are interested in knowing the temperature. It is always at 1 atmosphere, so temperature is the one that is changing. Okay, and the volume is changing, specific volume. So this is this x-axis is specific volume. Anyway, the mass is fixed, so that will also be give a same scaling for total volume, but this is what it is. Now, at state 1, you have compressed liquid or subcooled liquid which is getting heated up. So the volume is also increasing and temperature is also increasing till it reaches to 100 degrees Celsius. At 100 degrees Celsius, we are at state 2, which is shown here. Now at state 2, it starts to boil. Okay, it is saturated liquid. It starts to boil. So we have from 2 to 3, we have a mixture of, we have saturated mixture, which is a mixture of saturated liquid plus saturated vapor. So this is your state 3. But state 3, after that, if you keep on heating, you will reach to state 4, which is saturated vapor. So you see the difference. At state 2, I have liquid only, which is at 100 degrees Celsius. At state 4, I have vapor only, which is at 100 degrees Celsius, which is just become vapor. This is just about to boil, and this is just boiled. This is completely vapor at 100 degrees Celsius. Now, if I keep on heating on, it will become superheated vapor at 5. And this line is basically an isobar. It is at constant pressure of 1 atmosphere. Right? Is this not clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on. So if I take, this is called, as I said, this is called an isobar. If I take isobars at different pressures and I draw it, this is how it will look. So just now we have looked at pressure as 0.1 megapascal, which is atmospheric pressure. Similarly, if I keep on plotting for different pressures, this is how it will look. Okay. So let me define. So here from the left hand side, we have liquid. Then right hand side will have vapor. And basically, if, what you will see in the next slide, we can draw a dome shape over it. Okay, so basically, sorry. Okay, anyway, so this is how it will look. Okay, let us first define a few terms. So in this plot, we are talking about a critical point. Okay, so at critical point, what happens is that the saturated liquid and vapor states are identical. So you cannot distinguish, you cannot say this is liquid or vapor, but it is a mixture of liquid and vapor. Okay, this happens at critical point. Below that point, we'll have liquid here, we'll have vapor here, and these are the points where saturated liquid is there. So if I join these points, okay, let us say I joined these points. So at the left side of this red curve, I have liquid phase. Okay, again you see the curve is bending from here. If I keep on joining this bend, so bend basically corresponds to superheated vapor. Here we have vapor which is superheated. Here we have subcooled liquid. Okay, so in between, inside this curve, so this is called a vapor dome. Okay, I've not drawn very nicely, but this is how to look. So inside this, we have a mixture of liquid plus vapor. Okay, so here is where you see the phase change, that is marked here. So you have liquid plus vapor and phase change is there. Then you have liquid on the left side, basically saturated liquid, and you have vapor here or superheated vapor here. So if your P is less than critical pressure, your curve will look like this. Curve will start and then it will go flat. Why it will go flat? Can you explain? Why the temperature becomes constant?
So the
Because on
heat
the
is
heat is going to change the phase.
Yes,
And not
so
increasing
that's what
temperature.
we have here. That during the phase change, your temperature is constant at 100 degrees Celsius. If it is subcooled, then the temperature will change. If it is superheated, then temperature will change. But during the phase change, the temperature remains constant at 100 degrees Celsius. So that is what we are seeing here. So temperature becomes constant now that is the difference. So at critical point, your liquid will directly go to vapor phase, or it becomes indistinguishable. If you are above critical, so your liquid and vapor states are identical. Okay, let us define the critical point. So the temperature, pressure, and volume of a substance at a critical point are respectively, they are called TR, critical temperature, critical pressure, and critical specific volume. Okay, now for water, these are the values. Okay. Now at pressures above the critical pressure, there is no distinction between a vapor and liquid. Okay, there is no distinct way you can see bubbles coming out. That doesn't happen. It becomes one phase. Okay. Instead, the specific volume of the substance continuously increases, and at all times there is only one phase that is present. This happens beyond critical point. You can see in this plot. So if it is pressure is below critical point, this is how it will look. Pressure, if it is lower than critical, it will follow this curve. If it is at critical, so it will have a inflection point here, and then it will go like this. If this pressure is more than critical, then it will just continuously keep on increasing. It will not have any distinction between liquid and vapor. That is the whole. It is a little tricky, but that is the idea for critical point for any substance, not only for water. For any pure substance, this is how it behaves.
Sir,
Okay.
then there will be no need of latent heat of vaporization and all to change the phase.
Yes. So basically, it becomes indistinguishable. So see, latent heat we define when we are going through this phase, this part of the curve. Here you keep on adding heat and the volume is increasing. Volume and temperature both are increasing. At that high pressure, that is anyway we not discuss much about critical, but we need to we are mostly interested in the critical point that we'll see by the end of this chapter. But beyond that, we are not much interested. Don't worry much about that. We'll mostly limit our discussion to this region inside this vapor dome. This is where we are interested in. Okay, but you should definitely know what is critical pressure. Critical pressure and critical point is what you should know, and we'll try to limit our discussion to within this normal range. We'll not go. I don't think there are any many examples where we'll talk about supercritical. So, for example, we have application point of view. We have supercritical boilers. Okay, when you boil water at much higher pressures, but we'll not talk about that. That is that you may be studying them in your next second year. So when you talk about, there's a course called Applied Thermodynamics. There you will talk about supercritical boilers. Not for this course, we'll try to limit to within this vapor dome. Okay, is it fine? Any questions? Or should I move forward?
Sir,
Yes.
so for the above critical pressure, the pressure is very, very high. So, sir, it would be remain in the liquid state, and
That's what.
then
So
how it could be converted to gas? मतलब gas और liquid में फिर ऐसे कैसे difference नहीं होगा, ये समझ नहीं आया.
see, okay, let me try to. If I get some images, I can show you. But basically, from thermodynamics point of view, what we say is that at such high pressures, when you form a vapor, there will be no phase change. Okay, basically there's no distinct phase change process. Okay, so if you look at this plot, so this is let me. So if you look at this plot, we see a very clear process where we change phase, right? for any subcritical point. For all the points we'll have for any pressure. Let me remove this. So for any pressure which is lower than the critical, we'll see a part where this curve flattens or where the temperature remains constant. So for example, when you talk about latent heat, so in general, when you supply latent heat and you see a phase change, the temperature becomes constant, right? For example, at water, the temperature becomes constant at 100 degrees Celsius. That is not happening here if you see here. So
Yes, sir.
above critical point, it just the volume keeps on increasing. So anyway, that let us not worry too much about that. My suggestion is that you just focus on what is critical point, and we'll try to limit discussion within this paper too for this subject, for this particular course.
Excuse me,
Okay,
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
fine. Any other question? Someone
Hello.
was asking. Yes.
Sir, I didn't understand the definition of critical point. Please explain it again. What is the
Okay.
meaning of identical states are identical? Matlab,
Well, it means okay. So forget about this. Just focus on this. So let us try to define critical state by using these two plots. So what do you see? If you go to the last slide, let me start from here. Okay. So let us say I have a liquid, I keep on heating it, and then it becomes vapor, right? That is what we have done here. So
yes,
if you plot this in a TV plot, you can see at some point the curve gets flattened. Okay. Or basically the temperature becomes constant. Or basically for phase change process, right?
yes,
So the idea for critical state is that the pressure is so high that temperature does not become constant. The volume is always increasing. If you supply more heat, the volume is increasing. There is no part of the curve which looks like this. There is no flat part in this curve. If it is supercritical, it becomes liquid and vapor becomes similar. So we cannot distinguish between liquid and vapor phase, and we say that this is a critical phase. Okay, we don't say this is liquid or vapor. We say that this is a supercritical water. That's it. So if water is, let us say, at this state, I will not say that this is a liquid water or a vapor, liquid water vapor. I will say that this is a supercritical water.
okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, so we do not, for any supercritical quantity, I do not talk about liquid or vapor phase. I say that this is supercritical, that's it. So it is understood that how it is behaving.
Sir, at the critical point, what we say is the phase, not supercritical, at exactly the critical point.
Critical point also, see, that part is not getting a flat curve like this. So it will behave same. So I will say that whatever is at critical or supercritical, they are different regimes. So for normal thermodynamics, basically what we are going to study for this particular course, we will limit ourselves to subcritical. So whatever lies here, we say that these are all subcritical. That is what we are concerned with. We need not worry about these cases for this course. Okay. So we are interested in subcritical states, but you should at least know the definition. You should be aware that there is something like this, where the substance becomes critical or supercritical, where I cannot define liquid and vapor phases separately. It is called critical water or supercritical water. But here, if it is subcritical, I can say that it is a liquid water, vapor, or it is a water vapor, and I can also talk about phase change. That is not possible when it is going through a critical or a supercritical phase at conditions.
So, sir, in critical or supercritical condition, we cannot differentiate liquid and vapor at any temperature.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It will follow a different curve itself.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So these are the critical properties for water. So if you look, the temperature is so high. Sorry, pressure is very high. Temperature is high. So this is for the critical point. Okay. So let us now focus on this vapor dome. So this is what I am interested in. What lies we have inside this dome. This is called vapor dome. Okay. So let us look at the different regions. So this is a compressed liquid region. Okay, on the left side of this, we have compressed liquid. What we have seen in that initial plot. Okay. So just keep in mind how we have defined this. This is subcooled or compressed liquid, saturated liquid, liquid plus vapor, saturated mixture, saturated vapor, and superheated vapor that we have plotted here. So that we'll see in this diagram now. Okay. So left side is compressed liquid, which is far from boiling. Now inside this dome we have liquid plus vapor mixture, and right we have superheated vapor. So if you take any isotherm, okay, let us say P1. P1 is constant for this dotted line. So let us say I started on this, I have a subcooled liquid, and then I keep on heating it. So if you heat it at constant pressure, it will become saturated. It is a saturated liquid, and this is called saturated liquid line. So once you have saturated liquid, you heat it more, it becomes liquid plus vapor mixture. Okay, and finally it becomes saturated vapor. So this is called saturated vapor line. So for different pressures, we have saturated vapor here and we have saturated liquid here. So you see, there are two lines. Once they join, that becomes a critical point. And beyond this, I have superheated vapor region. So similarly, I can also plot a PV plot where I can use isotherm. So here we have constant pressure lines. Similarly, we'll have constant temperature lines. Okay, we'll have the same regions. We'll have compressed liquid, superheated vapor, and mixture of liquid and vapor. And again, this is your saturated liquid line. This is your saturated vapor line. Now, the difference is that if you keep your pressure constant and you keep on adding heat, the temperature increases. Temperature, volume both are increasing, right? If you look at this, we draw it for you. So if you keep the pressure constant and you keep on adding heat, the temperature will go up. Whereas for the same case, if you keep the temperature constant and keep on adding heat, then you need to reduce the pressure. Pressure will go down and volume will increase. Is this plot clear? What are the different regions?
Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, it means for each substance there is a different dome graph.
Yes.
Sir, above critical point, substance directly sublimate.
That will come to when we talk about sublimation. We will talk about PVT surface. Okay, if you look at critical point here, so you see there are two
Sublimation has
different
no point here.
Yes.
Sublimation has no point here. It is converting from liquid to vapor.
Yeah, that's what I told. We'll go to sublimation part in other plots. Not in this plot, we're talking about liquid to vapor. Okay.
Okay,
If you look at the PVT surface, then it will be, I hope, more clear. Anyway, let me just talk a bit about critical point here again. So you see, when we have, or let us look at this plot. So when we have liquid here and vapor here, we have two different lines. One line separate. This is your liquid plus vapor mixture. So this dome is basically separating your liquid vapor and liquid vapor and a mixture of them. Okay. Now we have one line for liquid, one line for vapor. But these two lines actually merge at this critical point. You see, there is no gap here. There is a continuous line here. So that's why we say that at critical point or beyond critical point, it becomes difficult to distinguish. You cannot distinguish between liquid or vapor. So that is something a very characteristic point of the critical point. Okay, but again, as I mentioned, for this subject, most of our discussion will be limited to inside this vapor dome. So we'll talk about subcritical phase. So you need not worry much about critical point for now. Okay, let us first focus on this inside the dome, and then if we have time, we can discuss a little bit more about critical point.
Sir, is critical point achieved practically?
Yes, it is achieved in many practical. As I mentioned, we have supercritical boilers where water is at a very high pressure, and then it has different heat transfer characteristics and things like that. But again, the detail of that process you study in applied thermodynamics, which is second year subject, I think. Okay, don't worry about critical point for this course at least. Okay. Okay, now let us look at three phases. So someone was mentioning sublimation. So how do we account for that? So we have PV plot here. Look carefully, and this is your liquid plus vapor dome, vapor dome that we are talking about. Now at triple point, so this is different. We talked about critical point. Now we are talking about triple point. So at triple point, we have another line which is distinguishing, or which is the boundary between solid and vapor. So here we have, let us say, solid. If you look at this curve carefully, let me draw another curve. Okay, so this is for a substance like water, which expands on freezing. Okay, if you know that when you freeze water, the volume increases. Okay. Similarly, for a substance which contracts on freezing, for other substance, this is the curve. So there is a slight difference between these curves. That let us first. So if you look at, let us first focus on this. So we have solid liquid interface as here. Okay, we have solid here, we have liquid here. Okay, and we till now what we have talked about is liquid and vapor. Liquid vapor equilibrium. So we have mentioned this state and we have mentioned this state, liquid vapor, and this is where vapor will be there. So whatever you see blue, it has vapor plus liquid and vapor plus solid. Any questions on this? Okay, what I suggest is that let us stop for here for now. I will upload this slide so you can have a look, and then we can discuss again.